Hello and welcome to My Nature Diaries. This month I have been focusing on tree shapes and tree forms, and I have actually been putting them in another journal. I have a bullet journal, and I found some of these shapes from Pinterest, and they're actually used in landscaping architecture. So I thought I could use this as well to identify trees when I'm out and about, and if I put them on a bookmark, I thought what a fun way to be able to see them, memorize them, and have a bookmarker. So that's what I'm going to be working on today. Before we get started with the actual bookmark, I wanted to just make a few lines in this paper, scrap paper, to just show you how simple it really is to take a tree shape. And this one, we're going to do the round tree, and I just made a circle, and then we're just going to put a straight down line. It's really as easy as that. And of course, when you go to ink it in, and I'm going to do that in just a moment, and I'll take a micron just to show you here. I think that's a 0.3, and then you just kind of using that shape, you're going to just use it as an outline and go ahead and follow those lines. I followed them a little too closely, but you could definitely go outside of those lines and just come up with that really, really sketchy, loose drawing of a round shaped tree. And that's really all you need for something like this. It's very, very simple. And then just erasing those lines, of course, you'll be able to see that you've got the beginnings of a tree. Using washi tape of different sizes, I just sectioned it off in these squares, and you can make it looser than that, but I wanted to make it look like a little mini nature journal, and I picked 4 shapes, and you can pick as many as you would like. I'll be putting in a background of yellow ochre that you see on the right, and then I also put down a wash of clean water and then adding that color, and then adding even more saturated color to the edges, and then I'm going to take some of the color out of the middle with a tissue. Here is my palette, simple sap green, viridian green, a little bit of ultramarine blue, and alizarin crimson, and then a size 12 Princeton snap brush, and you can use a smaller brush if you prefer. I will be adding the first layer with sap green and the viridian green, ultramarine blue. So you can pretty much just add in, like I said, this first light layer. This is 100% cotton paper, and so it is very absorbent. And then just going ahead, laying down those basic shapes again while the paper is wet. Also going through and adding that alizarin crimson, and it really was still too wet to do much with. So what I'm going to do is, after this, I'm just going to let it dry, and I will be adding another layer as well. While those trees are drying, I'm putting just the grass so it doesn't look like the trees are floating mid-air. Also, what I'm going to be doing is mixing up that alizarin crimson with some of the green and coming up with a neutral color or shade to paint the tree trunks. Now, you don't have to paint them if you're going to ink it in. I just went ahead and did it, but if you were just going to leave it as a watercolor, you certainly could do just the color for it. Using a 0.08 micron while these trees are drying, I'm writing in the names of the tree forms or the tree shapes, and I'm actually going over the writing twice because I do like to have it bold, the writing, but you can do whatever you'd like. I feel like this is obviously way too light, and now that everything's dry, I'm going back in with just right from my palette, sap green and some viridian, ultramarine, alizarin. You'll see all of them here, and just loosely adding some more blobs, I guess, of color to just add depth and interest to your trees. Now, you don't have to go to this amount of detail. You could just do one wash and then ink in the rest. It's completely up to you. These are your bookmarkers, and you can do whatever you would like, but I really like making these little trees, and I feel like it's interesting adding all the extra shapes and colors to them as well. Now that that is all done and everything is nice and dry, I am taking out my dip pen and I'm going to ink in the details. Again, this is optional, but as you can see, I did it here and I really like the look, and I'm just, what can I say? I'm a sucker for a dip pen and watercolor, and I'm using my super black ink, which is Kuretake, and it is waterproof. You could also use a micron pen if you don't want to use the dip pen or fountain pen, and whatever works for you is completely fine. Taking my dip pen, I am really just loosely sketching everything. I'm not thinking too much about it. I'm not going around every single shape, not worried about being too precise with everything. It's really about keeping it light and loose and sketchy, and following the patterns and the colors of the watercolor, and I'm using them kind of as a guide to even add shadows and just like the leaf formations. So it just depends on how you like to create. Some people like to draw it out beforehand and then do a wash of watercolor, but I kind of like to let the watercolor define the shapes for me, and either way works. So you decide what would work for you, but I think simple is really easier, and it's, I don't know, I think it looks a little bit more realistic when we're not being too particular about every little stroke and sketch that we make. If you are enjoying this tutorial so far, I would love to have you be a part of My Nature Diaries by subscribing, liking, and please comment with whether or not you nature diary or journal, and if you want to journal but you don't know how to do it, or you feel intimidated, or maybe just a subject that you would like to talk about with nature journaling, I'd love to hear from you. And I'm just so thankful for all of you who are following and watch faithfully. So I'm just finishing up these shapes, and this last one, again, just keeping it really simple, outlining. It's easier to start with less detail and put more in than to, overdo it. So, okay, we are finished with this part of our bookmark, and really it's just now time to be able to reveal it. And of course, that's always a fun time, or fun part for me, is taking away the washi tape and pulling it away. We see that, I love it. I love the little squares. I did get some of the color bleeding through the washi tape, so I can fix that, and I will show you how I do that later on towards the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. Now this is ready to be cut and made into a bookmark using my stationery cutter. I am going to just make one quick sweep through here, and then I am going to have myself a bookmark, and that didn't take very long, did it? Well, these are all done, little pieces of art that help me identify tree shapes, and also are a great book holder, book placeholder, bookmark. And I'm going to be using, I actually have one of these in one of my field guides for trees, and I loved how they each turned out so different. And you can put the shapes on the back. I might do that, put some more shapes. Now, if you did have some seepage of the paint, I just took some titanium white gouache. You can use white acrylic and clean that up. Very simple and easy. You can preserve these little bookmark paintings if you just get some craft spray and acrylic craft spray and go ahead and give that a nice clear coat outside. That'll help it from protect it a little bit from water. And go ahead and put them in your nature journal or your field guides that you take when you're out on the trail. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you will subscribe. And I just want you to remember, you are amazing and creative. So until we see you next time, bye.